Hello there everybody, it is me XFreezerBunny and welcome back to part 2 of The Sims 4 speed building the Edwardian Beach Hotel. This is the second/last part of this 2-part speed build that I'm doing on this hotel venue, okay? Once again, if you guys haven't seen the first part, this hotel venue can function either as a restaurant, cafe, or a bar. But of course, you can freely customize it however you like it in The Sims 4 anyway, but it is designed to be either one of those 3 venues. In this part, we are going to be continuing with the interior design as well as doing the landscaping as well. Also, I decided to add a 3rd part to this kind of really long and extended speed build, but don't worry, the 3rd part will be my video overview / walkthrough. There will be no commentary, it's just gonna show you guys a cinematic overview of this venue once it's completed, because I realized that it would be really long to include that part in this part. So yeah, it's gonna be a 3-part video, but the speed build part is only 2 parts. Anyway, right now we are working on the 2nd guest bedroom, the other guest bedroom we worked on in the last part, and there's going to be major changes to that in this part as well, based off of what I learned from doing the 2nd guest bedroom. I'm just gonna call it the pink guest bedroom and the blue guest bedroom because that's literally the colors that they use. The pink room uses a lot of brownish like caramel accents, I guess, and then the blue has some navy gray accents and stuff, and I will decide to actually change the layout. I think this might be the final layout for it. So I kind of spent a lot of time actually just going for a layout that I really liked. I wanted it to feel somewhat stiff because you guys know that in some hotels they really just have that layout where it's really like very orderly, very specific, and very almost stiff like, and I wanted to have that kind of atmosphere to it, so that's why the layout of the bedrooms are what they are. And I also threw in some fireplaces in each bedroom because I felt like that would make things a little bit more luxurious as well. And of course, we have these paintings that I always couple, because every time I place one, I always place another one parallel to it or in a relationship to it as well. So we're working on the 2 guest bedrooms over here on the 2nd floor. And they have an identical layout, absolutely identical layout actually, but the only difference is that some of the clutter in the counter areas are going to be different in each room. And by the way, I don't want to be very vulgar, but these counters are very provocative, and they insinuate something that I don't want to spell out, but I'm pretty sure it's very clear to see what they look like, okay? And I kind of thought about changing it, but I'm just like, you know what, who cares? You're gonna be looking at it in room wise, you won't see both counters together anyway because there's a wall kind of separating it. You guys got what I mean. It looks like something I don't want to talk about anyway, but that's not my intention, okay? I just want to make that clear. Okay, finally we are out of the bathroom and into the hallway. Now this hallway, I had no idea what to put here, so I just put a couple of sofas and like some decorative tables and some random furnishings and stuff. I love putting these ottomans underneath the table because they fit really snugly and I feel like they kind of fill in that nice little space. A lot of you guys actually in my other builds, a lot of you guys were very particular about the abundance of chairs that I put in my builds, because I do a lot of palace builds, and a lot of you guys kind of point out the fact that there's literally like 1,000,001 chairs everywhere. The thing is, in historical architecture, there's just a lot of chairs, there's just a lot of chairs to fill in each corner. That's why I don't really have an issue with it, and I'm actually really happy to see so much chairs because the Sims will sit anywhere they want. In one of my favorite new features of The Sims 4, which is being able to multitask, having a lot of seating is definitely very it's very advantageous to have in your house. Anyway, we are working on the third guest bedroom / guest suite, because it's not just a bedroom, it comes with its own kind of living / dining area. So yeah. This room is so freaking huge. It occupies the entire right wing of this building, and it's crazy. Literally, the bathroom in this room is the size of like the other bedrooms and stuff. It's really crazy. It's so big and so awesome as well. I'm really, really proud of this room. I will not stick to this brown color scheme though. I will change it into a more white and black color scheme. I felt like that felt really regal, and that had a lot of dignity to it. I'm just justifying it, but to be honest, the only reason why I chose the color schemes for the room is that so it would match the bed. Okay, I know I keep complaining about the beds in each video, but I know that the Sims team can change the items. I know that the Sims team can add more swatches to the items, and I am begging them to just add more swatches to the beds, because in case you guys haven't noticed, the rugs were actually updated with new swatches. The carpets that come with flooring were expanded to, with new color swatches. That's why I used a lot of them in this build, and I don't see why it's not possible for them to do it in the beds as well, because the beds are great. Design wise, I don't have any issues with the beds. I just have the issue with the color scheme, because the colors are very limited, and also they have no relationship to the other color schemes that they have for other furniture items. Like the beds have swatches that are entirely different from like the sofas and all that stuff, and it just bothers me a lot. So yeah, I will switch out the color of the bed into a white, because that's the one that matches the existing color scheme that we have. So yeah, I really, really like this room. Once again, it's very stiff and rigid when it comes to the plan and to the layout of it, but I really, really like how it looked out in the end. It turned out pretty awesome. There we go. We're changing it to a primarily white and a grayish black color scheme, or dark wood color scheme, So, and of course we have some gold accents as well, because I tried to make this thing as luxurious as I can. I'm also putting those what are those things? Also putting in those wardrobes together, because why the freaking heck not? And yeah, just very, very luxurious and very just very very high class, high society. I guess the person that would probably stay here could probably even be a royal, yeah. And it's just really, really huge. There's I used some columns and some half walls to partition out the room. So there is like a sleeping area, and there's also like a working area for it as well. But of course it still exists as one room. And I like using these screens as well, because, or dividers, because I felt like they really, kind of, like partition off the space really well. Right now we are working on the additional guest room facilities for the master suite. It's not really a part of the master suite, because it's only separated by an archway from the rest of the building, but I can kind of consider it as part of a master suite anyway, exclusively for the use of the owner for guests. If the owner of the suite, or the person staying in the suite, doesn't want the guests to go in the suite, they can just entertain them over here in this kind of area specifically designed for that. So there is like a little bit of a living room, and there's also a little bit of a dining room as well. Nothing too crazy, just a couple of sofas and and a dining table that can seat 6, but I just went ahead and put 4 chairs over here instead, because I felt like, why not? And I guess the person staying in the the guest suite, could probably have meetings here with like his clients or like his advisors or whatever. So yeah, and it looks like I am once again taking a break here, maybe running off to the kitchen to grab a glass of water, because that does happen to me a lot in the builds. I usually just, you know, get thirsty, and I only drink water. I never drink juice or anything while building because, you know, my concentration, it's just really distracting, whatever. So yeah, this bathroom is so gigantic. I had no freaking idea what to do with it. So it's basically just one large space. It's just really one huge space that has some bathroom equipment. And that's literally all I can say about it. I tried my best to tie in all the different furniture with each other. But you know, having such a huge space, you can do a lot with it, but you know, like what else do you need in a bathroom anyway, right? So yeah, just nice little areas here for the master to indulge in taking a bath or, you know, using the toilet. Also, one thing to break off the symmetry as well is I actually cheekily I did a cheeky change with one of the windows. So you guys should look for the one window that is shorter than the rest of the ones in this build, because that's going to be a nice little scavenger hunt. Once again, I'm going to bring up the fact that yes, this build looks very symmetrical if you look at it really quickly, but if you actually take the time to look at the whole thing, it is actually asymmetrical. I did incorporate many things that would break off the symmetry, and I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and just mention that once again for people who didn't watch the first part. And right now we are working on the swimming pool, which is another really luxurious thing to have, especially during the Edwardian era. I noticed that the swimming pools back then tended to be very square, and they had a lot of classical elements to them as well. So I really like how they look. You know, very, very simple and squarish, but I have no issues with that at all. And over here, I felt like the foundations were a little bit too severe. So what I did is actually lined it with some of these hedge fencing. I felt like that was a little bit softer, and I felt like that kept away the foundation from the guests, you know, making things a little bit more decorative and a little bit more pleasing to look at. So yeah, and I also bore some alcoves into these hedges just so we can plop in some nice little landscaping elements to it as well later on. Right now we are mapping out all the different pathways that we have, and I actually consider this as one of my signatures, these kind of pathway that's very organic and that's just painted on using these terrain paints. I feel like nobody does it the way I do. So, or, you know, somebody probably does it similarly to what I do, but, you know, I just do it like this. I just put some random squiggly lines, and that's just really it. You know, put some squiggly lines, and those are the pathways. The pathways, I chose to use a gravel texture that came with Outdoor Retreat. And I just love imagining, you know, all the ladies in their, you know, Edwardian gowns walking along the gravel pathways and the gravel making that crackly noise. I love listening to that every time I watch period dramas. You know, every time they would take walks in like Downton Abbey, or Marie Antoinette would take walks in Versailles or something, I would love to hear those. I love hearing those like gravelly, crackly textures. That's why I chose that gravel texture to use in this build. And there's only one gravel texture that's available for the game. So yes, it came with Granite Falls for The Sims 4 Outdoor Retreat. So yeah. And then, once again, just continuing on with lining all the foundations with some hedge fencing, just to really break out all the straightness and just, you know, make it a lot more natural looking, if that makes any sense. And over here in the front, we also put in some gravel pathways. Okay, one thing that I actually wasn't able to record is when I lined the pathways with rocks. So that's one thing that's going to be missing from this build, but pretty much everything else is in it. I didn't realize that I wasn't recording it, and also I didn't feel like it was necessary to include it in the build anyway, because it was just me lining the gravel pathways with with a stone texture, just to kind of transition it into this grass here. And speaking of grass, I also wasn't able to include the part where I kind of softened the edges, because I mean, the grass towards the edges of the lot, they were a little bit too abrupt, because I used the darker grass texture and it was a little bit abrupt in relationship to the environment of this build. So what I did is actually soften it by erasing the edges of it, which I also didn't record because I felt like it wasn't necessary as well. But you will see the effect of it in the final thing, like in the final walkthrough or overview, or maybe even you guys may have probably even noticed it in the preview videos that I always have in my build. So speaking of preview videos, while I was taking a break, because I just finished recording the first part of my commentary, and while I was having a break from that first part, I was searching for some music to include in the videos that are going to be in this, speed build. And I discovered a really, really good new composer called Jazzy's, what's his name? I'm going to grab my phone really quick. I found this amazing jazz song by Jammy Jams. Ease Jammy Jams. Okay, that is the name of the composer. Yeah. Very peculiar name, but I found a really nice jazz song from them, and that is going to be included in this build as the main song that I'm going to be using for this series of speed builds, and I really like it. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is I want to talk to you guys about my song choices. I never talk about it in any video, but I swear I spent hours and hours and hours. Like, I probably spent an hour to 2 hours just looking for the perfect song to go with a build. And that might surprise many of you guys, because that is how much attention I put into the video itself. It's not just about the build. It's not just about, my commentary. I even think about, the song that I use, because the song is really important to convey the emotion that I want with this venue, or with every venue that I make. I always include a unique song to go with it, so that it would kind of help deliver the message that I want in each venue, because each venue has a different message. So I think choosing the right song is really, really important for that. And right now we are working on the bar area. Once again, I mentioned this in the previous part already. A bar actually requires a TV and a stereo to function, but I personally chose not to include those two amenities just because I felt like they were very out of place in this particular setting. So I didn't place any. If you guys want to make this into a bar, just don't forget to add a TV and a radio so that it would function as a bar. Anyway, this is kind of like an octagonal / oval structure. I'm not sure how to describe this. It's an ellipse, I think. I think the proper term for this shape is an ellipse, like an oval shape or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I'm getting so technical on this, but anyway, when I was building this, I thought that it was a good size and shape, but when I was furnishing it, I realized that it was so freaking big. I didn't realize it was so big until I actually began furnishing it and placing in these bars, and it was so big that I had to place 2 bars just to fill up the space. But you know what? I think it's great because, the Sims can easily walk here if they want to have a drink, if they want to take a break from, taking a bath at the pool, or, if they want to take a break from just walking around the garden area. They can go here and grab a drink and grab some refreshments, maybe meet some Sims, catch up with some friends, and there's a lot of space for them to do that in this particular venue. Also, you guys might have noticed that this room or this structure had some really, really large windows, and my idea for it was to make somewhat of a greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect, not as in the global warming type. I just wanted to look like a greenhouse. And yeah, in order to do that, I actually placed in some hanging plants on the kind of perimeter of this octagon. And I felt like that those were really, really nice. And I placed those on the inside of the building itself. But right now I'm just very particular about the layout of these chairs over here. So yeah. Anyway, I think this is the final layout. And once again, I do the chandelier thing once again. I feel like the chandeliers, especially this technique when you enlarge one and put a smaller one over it, I feel like it really makes a lot of sense, especially if you do it on higher walls and ceilings, because they really bring together all the different elements that you have in your builds. So yeah, this is what I was talking about. I will put some me putting some hanging plants on the walls. I felt like that makes this room that makes this area feel a little bit more like a greenhouse, and I really like that. That's exactly what I was going for. And here I'm just choosing a potted decorative plant to complement all the different stuff that we have. I think I also throw in some clutter items over here as well, maybe some menu boards, and also some just random clutter, random books and all that good stuff. I did want this place to look like somebody was actually using it, so yeah. And probably one of my favorite parts that I just learned to like more in The Sims 4 than in any other Sims game is landscaping. I always mention this in many of my builds, but landscaping in The Sims 4 is so much fun. And I think out of any Sims games, in The Sims 4 is where I enjoy landscaping the most. I don't know what it is, but it's just so much fun to do in The Sims 4. The landscaping design approach that I did, I can only describe as geometric, but also organic. Geometric, organic, if that makes any sense. Because, the Edwardian period was kind of a departure from the classical ideals, because a lot of people were becoming more and more open-minded and worldly. But it still retains a lot of, design ideas from the old world, such as this. Very geometric plants. And I chose these plants specifically because they are, as I said, very geometric. They are a very round shape, very pruned and manicured is what I'm trying to say. But the arrangement of them and like the composition of them all throughout the garden is very organic. That's why I call it organic / geometric. And I think the inspiration for most of my landscaping is the American landscape architect or park designer Friedrich Law Olmsted, who is super, super famous in America, of course. He is responsible for creating New York Central Park, and he has a similar ideal where he does some organic landscaping, but very, very structured and very, very specifically composed to convey a specific look or to enhance a specific vista or viewpoint. And I know this because, in case you guys haven't known, I am currently taking up my degree in architecture, and a couple of years ago I had to do a report on Friedrich Law Olmsted for my planning course. That's why I know. Anyway, Friedrich Law Olmsted, definitely a great architect, great man. Yeah. And in case you guys missed me mentioning it in the first part, this is an Americana inspired build, especially with American architecture on the East Coast, from Louisiana to Maine, and even in Nova Scotia as well. I looked at those East Coast, turn of the century architecture is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I am all over the place because I literally just finished recording a 30-minute commentary of the first part of this series, and then I'm doing the second part, so I didn't have that much of a break in between. But yeah, one thing that I feel like broke a little bit of the character of this build is me adding some cypress trees, because usually cypress is like a characteristic plant or a characteristic foliage in Southern Europe in the Mediterranean, but I decided to add them because they just felt really classy. You know, I'm pretty sure all of you guys will agree that cypress trees bring out the class in any of the buildings. You know, if you look at these really, really rich mansions and palaces and stuff, they have a lot of cypress trees, and I feel like, you know, every time people see them, people immediately think of wealth and richness and all that stuff. So yeah. And of course, I also added a lot of lawn ornaments as well. Some of these came with, I believe, Get Together. Yeah, some of these came with Get Together, but most of them definitely came with romantic garden stuff. Especially if you like this type of architecture, I highly suggest that you guys get romantic garden stuff because it is filled with some really, really awesome decorative garden items that are very relevant to this style of architecture. Very classical, very historical, and I really, really like that. And of course, I am going to scatter some, you know, decorative elements all over the place here. And also I decided to scatter some fountains as well. I don't know why, but I felt like, you know, having some random fountain here and there would also bring the garden to life. So that was really nice. And of course, throwing in a couple of benches for people to rest on and stuff. This is really weird because I have been looking for this fountain for a really long time. I knew that this thing existed, but I felt like it was locked or something because I was only looking at the decorative options. And then I was putting on these benches and then I saw this fountain and I realized that that fountain is actually located in the, seating category, which is really weird. I know that it has the option to be used as, you know, a seating space, but generally it's still a fountain, right? So why would they put it together with chairs if it's the fountain? I just really didn't get that. Anyway, I also threw in these parasol areas over here. Maybe if your Sims have, like, you know, time for a tea, you know, if your Sims have tea time or like a coffee break or something, they can even probably go for a barbecue, even though I didn't place like a barbecue though. Anyway, yeah, that's what I would want those things to be used for anyway. And yeah, right here, also placing in some, you know, decorative, what are these things called? Urns? Or like, you know, whatever, flower pedestals. And making it nice and symmetrical, just the way I like it. And then over here, I repeat the similar approach to the bar area and place in these hanging plants on the windows because I kind of wanted it to look like a greenhouse. I actually really like how this room turned out in the end. So once again, I was able to use a lot of the items that came with The Sims 4 romantic garden stuff, and maybe even some perfect patio or whatever, but I was able to use a lot of them in this build as well. I mean, in this room, because I wanted to make it feel like a greenhouse, but also make it look very refined and very classy. So I love these trellises. I really do. I actually use them quite a lot in this room, especially to kind of break off the window surface. I really like how they look, and I really like how they bring the room together. You know, which is a detail that I really didn't expect coming into this. I didn't expect me to throw in a bunch of trellises with these pink roses, but they actually turned out really nice. So yay. And also, I was able to use these rugs in their original green color for the first time. You know, I've had The Sims 4 ever since it first came out, and this rug comes in this default color, but I've never been able to use it in its default color. So, you know, I'm able to use that here because, of course, since it's a greenhouse, I went for the cliche route and make things have green accents and stuff. Oh my gosh, one thing that I actually forgot to include is a bird feeder. Oh, I forgot to put in a bird feeder. I might put one off camera though, because I did use some items that came with oh my gosh, like I totally forgot the name of that stuff pack or whatever, but these cluster of potted plants over here are from that stuff pack, the recent one. I just forgot what it's called. And I also threw in some planter boxes as well because you know, I might throw in some legit crops and harvestables there. So yeah, and then we have this painting here. I chose that painting specifically because it was a painting of an outdoor scene, and I wanted that to be kind of a focal point in the greenhouse solarium area. And then over here, I think pretty much most of the construction and decoration is done. The only thing that we're going to add are a couple of details, swap out things with some better options in my opinion, and actually also focus on the lighting aspect, which in my opinion is another thing that The Sims 4 does really, really well compared to the other Sims games. Lighting, I love it. I love the way the light looks at night and all the reflections and all the different lighting effects really are just absolutely gorgeous. So freaking gorgeous. So yeah, I wanted this building to illuminate like a beacon at night, especially since this lot over here, it's located on a cliff, like it's located on such a dramatic setting. Having so intense lighting at night, I feel like it's going to literally be sublime and knock everybody's socks off. So yeah. Once again, I am showing you guys pretty much most of my construction and furnishing. That's why this video is really, really long and, it had to be stretched out to 2 parts. I noticed that some people would edit out, huge chunks of, their builds, which I'm really sad because a lot of people I know are watching builds to learn, and some people would just choose to edit out things. So I wish more people wouldn't edit their edit out some footage, but each his own. Everybody has their own way of doing things. I just personally like to include as much as I can, which means everything. I personally like to include everything in my builds, in my speed builds anyway. So yeah. Okay, hopefully you guys don't misunderstand that as throwing shade to anyone, because I'm not throwing shade, I'm just saying. Anyway, so yeah, over here we are manipulating some of the cabinetry that are in the bar area. I decided to keep these cabinets and just put them against the windows because why not? And over here I switch out some of the painting clusters with a cluster of 3 paintings because I felt like that would make it look a little bit more casual and a little bit more of a creative touch to it. Since this is a coffee shop area, I went ahead and added some coffee for sale. You guys know that some coffee shops would have like coffee that you can brew yourself, you can prepare yourself at home, and I decided to throw a couple of those in as well over here. And yeah, once again, just swapping out some paintings to just make it look all nice and stuff. And I also will add some lights to these pinnacles and towers as well, because I actually realized that they do illuminate at night. It's weird how the lighting doesn't affect the roof though. I wish that it did, but it doesn't. So I wish we had some lighting specifically for the roof, because in this case, since the roof is so elaborate, I would like it to be visible even at night, but that's just not a thing that's possible in the game yet. So yeah. And these urns with flowers, actually I added in some street lamps to them, and they actually are now a lighting fixture, which I really, really like. I like how the fantasy-esque look to them, and very, very kind of like Edwardian looking, which is really awesome. And I threw in some lighting on the swimming pool as well. Really, really awesome stuff. So it looks like all that's left to do is to add in some lighting to illuminate this place at night, and that is pretty much it for this really, really long extended speed build. Hopefully you guys enjoy this nice ambitious one, and let me know what you think of multiple speed builds part, because I might do some in the future as well. So yeah. Also, don't forget to check out part 3, the video overview of this video. It will be uploaded immediately after the first 2 parts, so watch out for that. Lots of nice videos for you guys I've prepared, so keep an eye out for it on my channel. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, please don't forget to hit that like, favorite, and subscribe button if you guys want to support the channel, because it really does help out a lot, okay? You all have an awesome day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!